This is E2B, Energy to Business, a podcast by Opportune, where we bring you in-house expertise that serves all energy sectors. We examine emerging financial and technology trends and provide a broad perspective on ways to stay ahead, create opportunities, and execute market strategies.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of E2B, Energy to Business, an Opportune podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B. And folks, thanks so much for joining us on another episode of the show as we explore some of the timeliest technologies, trends, methodologies, and strategies for success in the larger energy industry. As we explore today's topic and get into the nitty-gritty of one particular software and its useful tools for the industry, I want to make sure to point you in the right direction for previous Opportune content. So make sure that you're heading to our website, opportune.com. Again, that's opportune.com for more information on our solutions and services and for other pieces of Opportune content, including episodes of the show, but also videos, articles, blogs, and more. You can also subscribe to E2B on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So just hit that subscribe button and you'll have a full catalog of previous conversations, plus notifications when we drop new episodes. So on today's episode of E2B, we're talking all things Salesforce in the energy industry. So like just about any industry, oil and gas professionals are challenged with several touch points that they're looking to improve. They're challenged with improving communications across their various partners, which is a wide-reaching ecosystem of shareholders, suppliers, landowners, customers, et cetera, et cetera. They're also operating under tight margins, like many other industries, seeking ways to reduce cost and improve efficiency via specifically streamlining field operations and asset digitization. And customer loyalty is also critical in the industry today, as oil and gas companies seek strategies for customer engagement and loyalty downstream. So both upstream, midstream, and downstream operations are looking for solutions that will meet the needs of today. And for solutions, professionals are turning to a proven CRM, Salesforce. But we wanted to pose the question, is the industry putting Salesforce to work in the most extensive way possible? Is its functionality being maximized? And if so, what impact is a standard CRM having on growth for the whole industry? So for insights, we're going to be sitting down with two guests to break this intersection of energy and Salesforce down. First up, I want to introduce Ross Benton. He's director at Opportune. Ross, great to have you on. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I appreciate you joining us. And then joining us from Ensign Natural Resources is production manager Chris Baker. Chris, great to have you on as well. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for your time. So before we get any deeper here, I want to let both of y'all give our audience the quick elevator pitch. What's your background? Describe your role at your respective company and connect the dots with how, your career trajectory up until now kind of informs your perspective today, right? What touch points have you had with Salesforce?
I'll go first. I'm the production manager here at Ensign Natural Resources. We have an asset in the Eagle Ford in South Texas. It's about 160,000 net acres and 775 wells. Prior to Ensign, I was at Murphy Oil Corp in the Eagle Ford as well. I worked there in various field capacities, and then I made the move to Houston, and I helped build an operational control room there, and then left Murphy in 2019 and come to start Ensign Natural Resources with some others. So, but full disclosure, I'm totally not the IT guy. I'm an ops guy. I'm looking for value in the digitization of the oil field, but I don't know all of the I's and the O's, as I always tell Ross.
The ones and the zeros.
That's right.
I gotcha. Well, I appreciate you bringing your expertise to the podcast today. I know that ops perspective is going to be really useful for grounding some of these higher level strategies into actual workflows that work for the industry. So looking forward to picking your brain on that. Ross, we'll jump over to you now. Give us the same answer here, right? What is your role? How does it cover, certain touch points with Salesforce at Opportune? And how does your experience in the industry inform your perspective today?
So I'm a director in Opportune's process and technology practice based out of Houston. I've got about 15 years of experience in process consulting, technology and software implementation, sales, project management, et cetera. About 12 of those years were spent in the Salesforce ecosystem and continue to be so. Working for Salesforce customers in various roles, development partners, so actually building out applications on top of the platform that we take to market. And also system integrators like Opportune, consulting and working with clients like Ensign. Here at Opportune, I'm the lead for our digital innovation and industry solution services group, as well as our Salesforce practice lead. Prior to Opportune, I spent a lot of time, like I said, working for different development partners on the Salesforce ecosystem. So I've seen a lot of different ways to approach the platform across multiple industries, whether it be commercial real estate, energy, the hospitality space, a little bit of healthcare as well.
Perfect. All right, Ross, Chris, let's go ahead and jump into the core conversation today. Again, we're chatting Salesforce, and we're chatting how it's being put to work for the energy industry at large, and then hopefully putting together some actionable strategies for folks to make the most out of their Salesforce integrations. We'll start high level. Can you relay, based on the work that you're doing with your customers and what you're seeing from industry professionals today, how is the energy industry at large putting Salesforce to work? Right? What are some of the standard implementations and use cases today that you see working for folks?
Yeah, sure. I kind of group it in two different ways. One is surrounding Salesforce's kind of core products. So they've got, like you mentioned before, they have a CRM tool, but they've got much more that they've developed over the years. So they've got their Sales Cloud, which is the CRM piece. Think of that as the customer relationship management piece, focused on managing your customer data, sales pipeline, and processes, et cetera. And they've also got, a Service Cloud, a Salesforce Field Service Cloud, Experience Cloud, a lot of different clouds and products out there that they leverage that have a kind of a preset functionality that customers utilize. So in a lot of projects, we'll take that preset functionality or that out of the box functionality and customize or configure it specific for the industry or specific to that company. That allows us to deliver value very quickly because we're leveraging some of that pre-built capability. So Ensign being a perfect example of this, where we leverage that Salesforce Field Service to be able to kind of get that up and running very quickly at a low cost basis for them. The other side of it is Salesforce as a platform. And so it's a very powerful low code, no code platform, allows you to build things with configuration and with very little code. We see this in a lot of different places, not only to extend the clouds I mentioned before, but also to build out industry specific solutions for customers. So replacing legacy custom developed solutions, Excel spreadsheets, manual processes. A lot of times we'll go into customers and see a lot of multiple kind of disconnected, difficult to support legacy systems. We could rebuild those all on a single platform, such as Salesforce, which cuts down on their licensing costs, their support costs, their maintenance costs going forward. That's really the two kind of big chunks of functionality we see in the industry.
On the flip side of that, where do you think the industry could be applying Salesforce's various tools more effectively? Or where is it not even applying Salesforce at all that you see some opportunity for integration, and why?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is around the perception of Salesforce as simply a CRM. So I think the industry, and not only just energy, but other industries as well, can be missing the mark as far as the capabilities that are available to them with that platform. Being that low code, no code platform, there's so much you can do with it that I think a lot of people don't take advantage of because they're limited in their scope around CRM. So a lot of what we do in talking with clients and prospective clients is educating them on the capabilities and what the platform can actually do. And so when we see customers like Ensign and like others we worked with in the past that really embrace the product as a platform, in addition to the cloud functionality that they've purchased, they can really maximize the value that they're getting out of it.
So now I want to ask each of you how you're using Salesforce more concretely. So Ross, we'll stick with you, and then Chris, I promise I'll let you speak here in a sec. We'll jump over to you after. But Ross, give us a brief overview first of how Salesforce and Opportune cross paths. Right? Where does Opportune leverage for Salesforce capabilities, and to what effect? Right? What are those core metrics you're hoping to hit by putting Salesforce to work?
Yeah, so Opportune strictly uses it as a CRM tool as well as an employee work management platform. So we use the typical tracking our customer information and prospective customer information contacts, tracking activity as we work with our customers and prospects. But then we also have a suite of solutions that we built out on top of the platform to manage things like our employee development plans, our performance evaluations, the way we orchestrate our internal processes around project execution and authorization, the way that we set up new projects and new clients. We've got a lot of this digitized within the platform that have really helped from a process improvement and efficiency perspective versus a paper-based system that we came from.
Now, Chris, similar question. I know that Ensign incorporated Salesforce's digital solutions starting around 2019 with a key acquisition. So if you don't mind kind of laying the groundwork there on what motivated Ensign to incorporate Salesforce into their workflows and what has the net impact been?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess maybe some context for my predicament in late 2019. So Ensign, we're a Warburg Pincus, Ken Anderson private equity backed operator. We bought an asset from Pioneer Natural Resources down in South Texas. And so we had a short window from signing the PSA to taking over operations and standing up the company. And so we were building business processes. We're looking which software to use. And primarily, we were looking for an asset management or a maintenance management software. But we wanted something that could also coordinate like all of the field efforts, collect data, something that we could translate operational priorities, something that we could use to integrate easily with other applications. Like we have SCADA that we want to integrate with, some other things, production accounting. I should also note that I had some historically negative experience with other enterprise software. So I was looking for a little bit more intuitive solution. So in a previous life, we spent lots of time, lots of money on like an ultra customized application. It took like an army of people to keep up with, and it wasn't fit for purpose for us at Ensign. We didn't have a lot of money, we didn't have a lot of time, and so that hard time constraint associated with the selection and the implementation of the solution was a big deal. And also, there wasn't a budget for an army of technicians to serve the software. Maybe just like a consultant here or there, like Ross, right? But then we needed it to be economical, not just for implementation, but like going forward. And so we had a different operating model than what Pioneer was currently utilizing. So we needed some software to enable all of that and a good mobile app, collect a bunch of data. And so we were looking for that. It can be frustrating at times when big companies become like entrenched in big enterprises software, feels like 1989, and spend a fortune trying to keep it up and a lot of money trying to keep the staff on it just so you can work an application. So Ensign, we just wanted to apply an effective technology, focus on continuing improvement, something we can add on to or build. And Salesforce was, it felt unconventional at the time, but we found that it was a pretty good fit.
As a follow-up there, when did it stop feeling unconventional? Was it pretty immediately apparent that it was going to serve as more than just a CRM tool for your needs, or did it take a bit of a learning curve to settle in and turn into some measurable results?
So for us, once we got past the initial, this is what we're going to use, it's fit for purpose, and then we realized that it had a bunch of untapped potential. Whenever I had like an idea, hey, I need a solution to work this, it was really easy to go to Ross or our own in-house guy and say, hey, this is what I need. Can you hook me up? And then it was really quick and it wasn't expensive. And that was the other huge piece for us. You know, in other industry, you have like that army of people who speak some random enterprise language, and it's not. It's just hard to get through. We had a guy. He wasn't a programmer. He was, he was tech savvy. Early on, he saw Salesforce as an opportunity. He said, "Hey, this is cool." He drank the Kool-Aid. He did all of the trailhead stuff. He watched some YouTube. He worked with some people there at Opportune, and now he's our Salesforce admin. He was like a year in, and so that kind of getting people up to speed, that doesn't happen with other enterprise software from 1989, right? It's that low code, no code is a huge deal for us.
And then Ross, to toss it back to you before I kind of move on here. It sounds like for Chris and his team, having a resource that is well educated on all of the various touch points that Salesforce can create out of sort of or beyond sort of just the conventional CRM tools that it's known for. So I'm curious how you and your team have developed that pool of knowledge, right? How have you approached educating yourselves and also your clients on all of the possibilities Salesforce has to offer in this industry beyond just its CRM components?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes with experience. So for myself, having come from a background where I've seen Salesforce leverage in a lot of different ways, it makes that knowledge very helpful when Chris or some other client comes to us with a problem. I can look at 3 or 4 different ways that I've kind of seen that problem mitigated in the past and leverage that experience to help direct where we should go. But I mean, we at Opportune have a really robust training program for all of our consultants on the Salesforce side of things. Salesforce itself has an incredible training library called Trailhead that they've published out there for free for people to leverage. I know, in talking with kids that we're hiring out of college, I point them to that often just as a way to skill up before they graduate. It's been very beneficial for not only our customers to ramp up as well as us internally. And to add on to Chris's story there around his system administrator, I mean, we see that at a lot of places where we'll come in and do an initial implementation, and then it's very easy for us to kind of hand that off to internal resources, which I think makes Salesforce very valuable for companies to implement because they're not always reliant on a consulting partner long term. They can take on a lot of that capability internally and then leverage us for more complex things.
All right, next question for the two of y'all is going to try to pull from more of what you're hearing in the industry, less of your specific experiences or, based on how open you've been to taking on Salesforce. But would you say that energy companies at large are generally receptive to the idea of integrating Salesforce, or really any kind of digital technology like this that has multiple layers and multiple solutions and use cases? What are you hearing from the industry, and how is that sentiment actually reflecting in integrations?
From my point of view, I think that most anyone can make money at $90 barrel of oil, right? But if the last 5-7 years of the oil price have taught us anything, it's in order to stay competitive in this business, you got to be efficient. And really, the only way to do that is leveraging digital solutions in order to make your processes more efficient. And so whether it's Salesforce or some other digital solutions, it's the way you do more with less. As far as Salesforce is concerned, I've seen service companies and sales staff, absolutely. I've seen a lot of use for there. I haven't personally seen very many operators use field service as how we're using it. I think probably EQT is probably one of the front runners. They've absolutely embraced it. It's pretty admirable how they've worked that. But I mean, part of it is just, I remember when the Salesforce sales guy called me, it took me a minute to understand what he wanted to talk to me for. I mean, I'm not associated with sales. I'm not a salesman. I don't need a CRM. And so it took me a minute to correlate that.
The first time we bring up Salesforce, the response is, well, I'm not a salesperson. I don't have a sales team. Maybe I don't have, in customers from a B2C perspective. I'm working in the B2B space, or I'm working, in the oil field. It's different. And so that's where that education really comes into play. I think digitization in general is, especially over the last few years with moving to a remote workforce, I think a lot of companies have had to transition that were more hesitant to do so ahead of time and to embracing some more digital transformation. But the Salesforce in general, I think is getting broader adoption outside of the typical CRM space than it has in the past. Just with a lot of the platform capabilities that are getting more broadly evangelized out there. I know we spend a lot of time, building out proof of concept solutions that are industry specific and taking those to the market to try to help continue that evangelization.
I personally think that the advertising really works. I mean, the teddy bears, that really attracts the oil and gas crowd.
Yep, the heart in the field service app. It's great.
They are cute. I can't lie. They are cute. Cute doesn't hurt, right? Who knew? Who knew cute teddy bears help with enterprise software solution? All right. So to get a little more specific, Chris, I want to pull from your insights at Ensign. Could you maybe highlight your top 2 or top 3 Salesforce platforms that Ensign is leveraging the best today, in your opinion? And how are these tools helping Ensign optimize land efficiency, production staff efficiency, et cetera?
So we are leveraging Field Service Lightning. We use the application to enable our operating model, dynamic routing. So to explain that a little bit, just instead of visiting every well every day, we prioritize all of our wells by revenue, and then we focus our efforts on the wells that make the most money first, right? So Salesforce increases the effectiveness of every single field guy or every one of our field staff in 3 big ways. So number 1, priority. So the control room sits, and it's got a different view of the field and of all of the competing priorities, but not just like at the beginning of a workday, but in real time. So the field staff go about their scheduled day and until something else comes along that can make more money. And then the control room breaks into the field tech schedule with higher priority or more revenue increasing work based on their current geolocation. But it's only because that we have Salesforce that enables that can translate those business priorities to actual more revenue in real time. Scheduling is another piece. In our operating model, the field technicians, they plan their own day, right? That doesn't always translate to our business priorities. So if I could plan my own day, heck yeah, I'm gonna stop by a barbecue restaurant that I like, and whatever route that takes me that gets me home earlier, hey, that's gonna happen. But with field service and with the route optimizer, it gives a sequence to all of the well stops. All of it's optimized, so there's less driving back and forth. They're scheduled in like a deliberate sequence, which can be a daunting task if you have 40 stops to make and you've got an entire field staff to plan for. And so we don't want the schedulers taking vast amounts of time. It's just a click of a button. It's pretty incredible. But even then, it's very, very hard to evaluate priorities at the same time, unless we were leveraging that powerful solution. And then obviously the other piece is we gather data. So because the control room is directing the efforts of the field staff, we gather all of that data. So how many of each task they're completing at which time of the year, how long that task typically takes, if a certain component is having a reoccurring issue, all of that, we're gathering all of that data, and then we refine our process and then we get better. But those are 3 big examples where Field Service Lightning is enabling real progress.
And as an extension of the Field Service Lightning tool, I know that Ensign also chose to integrate the Salesforce Field Service app within its operations for on-site operations and to further integrate it into your workflows. I'm curious what some of the key characteristics are that you think stand out as particularly effective, especially related to Ensign's specific operations, to the EF acquisition. How has the app worked for you?
So, in your mind, think of an oil field operator, right? He's probably got a big mustache, maybe kind of grimy hands, big hard hat. So those are the guys that we're trying to convince to use the app. And that's not always an easy task. So if the app isn't intuitive, user adoption is going to be a huge problem for us because we need them to use the app and to enter information into it. And that's a big deal. So having an app that's easy, provides value that they can see value in, that works, it's a make or break scenario. So that played a huge role in our decision. And just like some key characteristics of the app, I mean, I don't want to sound like an advertisement, but the app was a big deal for us. So it's intuitive. I'm a big believer. If I need like instructions on how to use the app, I don't want to use it. And the Salesforce app is. So that street cred, that goes a long ways. The offline data capture. So they're in the oil field, there's low conductivity areas. There's a lot of opportunities for that. You might think that it's a small thing, but there's a little button in there that says directions. And so it has all the GPS directions to each of the field sites for geolocation. To have directions to each location without having to call someone, because sometimes oil field directions can be like, hey, hang a left at the big oak tree and take a right at the big rock. And having that button is big. The other thing is you have historical work orders. So if you're going to a location and you want to know how to troubleshoot the issue, you can look at the past 5 work orders and say, hey, these are what the guys did prior to me getting there. That goes a long way for troubleshooting. And then, I mean, real-time work order completion, and that just adds so much value for us. And then the Gantt was also a game changer for us. Just the scheduling and the transparency for us. So I can see what my entire workforce is working on day over day. So I know that if it's a bad weather day, I can see if they're doing production recovery or if they're doing production increasing opportunities. How much production are they trying to leverage by doing a certain task? Or I can see that all in aggregate. It's pretty impressive.
Now let's turn those tools and via that integration timeline into some tangible wins for our audience to understand. So can you provide any high-level benchmarks that point to the operational efficiencies achieved by leveraging the Salesforce platform, and kind of connect the dots with specific examples of here's the ROI, here's the KPI that we met, and how it connects back to Salesforce?
So in oil and gas production, the goal is simple. We want to safely make more production and reduce OpEx. If you can do that long term, focus on that, then you're going to be in a good place. I can tell you a little, there's a couple of ways how Salesforce helped us do that. So safety, you got to do it safely. So one of the most dangerous things that in operations that we do is drive. I know back in 2012, 2013, Highway 72 that runs the stretch of the Eagle Ford there, that was like one of the Texas's most dangerous roads. And so it's a big deal that we drive safely. So when we stood up Ensign in 2019, we implemented the scheduling software, the route optimizer, and then GeoTab. So we have geolocation of all the trucks. And then we saw a couple of things pretty apparent, which was surprising to me. We saw the number of miles driven drop 10%. And then, so that's a big deal for us because that's less mileage, that's less exposure to the actual field staff, it's less fuel, less wear and tear on the trucks. It's a big deal, right? But the most important was we saw reduced driving-related incidents down by 72%. So the ops staff were driving less, they're driving slower, and they were driving safer, which was a huge win for us. And then I guess second was increased production and reduce OpEx, right? So again, when we acquired it in 2019, there was a lot of historic downtime. Wells that are down aren't making any production. So that's a pretty good place to start, right? So we made some changes. We reduced our field resources, our field staff by 55%. And so it's a lot less people out there, which equals significantly less OpEx. And then we implemented a control room to direct the efforts. We changed the operating model. And then we worked with Field Service Lightning. And then we were able to reduce the downtime impact by 43%. That equals tangible, more production. That's prioritization, looking for wells that can come on sooner. That 43% is a big deal. The other piece is our maintenance team is pretty incredible. We had a strong focus on planned maintenance. All of our maintenance plans, everything's integrated into the field service, and with all those necessary tools and parts included, we were able to put those into the work order, made the work orders better. essentially. Again, prioritization and geolocation. But also, we reduced the maintenance staff by 54%. And so maybe you'd think, hey, they might do like the same amount of work or maybe even less, but not these guys. They increased the number of work order completion by 26%. And so overall, like the app and the operating model, it drove more with less. That's the digital oil field enabling us to do more with less and driving efficiency.
I appreciate you giving us those actionable examples. I feel like that really lays the groundwork for how our audience can begin to assess what strategies are the most useful for integrating and making the most of Salesforce, and how they can begin to maybe compare and contrast their own installations of the solution. So I want to open this back up to both of y'all now, but I'm looking to get more thoughts on how to maneuver all of the data that Salesforce is meant to manage and intake and analyze and make sense of. So again, we live in a information age, I guess to put it lightly, where data is vast and everywhere, and there are several layers of digital transformation that are impacting every industry. So how does the Salesforce platform enable companies to digest that data and then obtain actionable insights that matter for their specific business case, right? I guess walk us through how you see Salesforce being useful in that data ingest, but then also the analysis and putting it to good use.
So we track travel, we track wrench time, utilization rate, task resolution data, what happened when they were there, cost per work order, operator details. And all that goes into field service along with all of our asset data, right? And then we have the ability to pivot business priorities. So that gives us, we can make data-driven decisions instead of like, hey, I know my field guys are really bowed up today. I can tell you what percentage of my workforce is busy doing what, and what I expect to be done by the end of the day, and the return that I'm getting on that OpEx investment, right? And so we use all of the work orders that generates all that data, which is justification for defect elimination, and then we fix whatever that defect is. And then we reduce that task load, we optimize the process, and we just use the data. It's turning. But having the data available about your operation is how you get better. It's how you know what to focus on.
We've talked a lot about Salesforce as a CRM, but then also Salesforce beyond just its CRM capacity. I'm curious if there's any bleeding edge innovations happening within the Salesforce tool ecosystem that maybe our audience may not be familiar with, that you think are worth vouching for, right? Any cutting edge technologies or fresh tools worth shouting out?
Salesforce is continuing to invest heavily in R&D and improve their platform. We've seen a number of key acquisitions over the years. MuleSoft being an incredible one when we talked about integration a minute ago. Right now there's a lot of focus, or has been in the recent past, around AI and Salesforce's Einstein capabilities around, insight into your workflows and predictive capabilities, smart bots, image recognition. A lot of that stuff is now baked into the platform across the different clouds, or is available for adding on to it. But in general, I think some things that folks often overlook is that mobile capability we kind of talked about. And while there's the field service mobile app, there's also the Salesforce mobile app, which I always like to highlight when I talk to customers, because everything that we build out on the platform, everything that gets built as a part of those clouds, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, et cetera, almost all that capability is immediately accessible within their mobile application. You don't have to go build out a new application or go configure something in order to make it accessible via mobile. It's immediately there, which is a huge value add from a time and cost perspective. And also their partner ecosystem is very, very broad. Much like Apple and Google have their app stores for your phone, Salesforce has its App Exchange that has thousands and thousands of apps that have been built out to deliver a certain functionality that you can plug into your Salesforce instance and some immediate value out of, whether it's adding in some functionality or, some quick shortcuts, or it may be a data integration suite that's built in to incorporate some new workflow with another system.
I listened to Dreamforce the last year and got to watch some of it. I haven't been out to San Francisco. I've completely drank the Kool-Aid. I want to go, but we just haven't made it out on account of the whole pandemic and all that. But there's so many more applications that we could leverage. I feel like I'm still learning the basics. When I watched Dreamforce, I think I emailed Ross and peppered him with questions about all these. And my feeling is Salesforce is potentially untapped. Every time I dream up something, Ross says, "Oh, that's not that bad. I can probably have that out to you in a week." It's pretty incredible. I haven't stumped him yet, and so we're working on it though.
I appreciate the challenge.
Yeah, right. Prepare yourself, Ross. I love it. Well, speaking of Ross, I'll toss you this question. But we spoke about the field service Lightning platform as well as the field service app. Can you give us just a brief rundown of some of the benefits that the Salesforce platform offers for the energy industry outside of just those field service tools and outside of just a CRM? And maybe specifically connect the dots with how you see Salesforce helping companies reduce the burden of some of their more tedious operations in the market today.
We've seen a lot of use cases in the industry, whether they're an extension of an existing kind of offering from Salesforce or there's something that's really built out on the platform. But, I mentioned this before, but you see a lot of companies with these disconnected apps or legacy systems that they've built over the years, and they've got support teams to manage each one, and they may be not connected, or maybe have separate licensing costs for each one. And consolidating that on a single platform, it just is oftentimes a no-brainer from a cost savings perspective, and just the ease of support and development going forward. And so where we've seen that around health, safety, and environmental tracking, deal execution, margin analysis, and lease group purchasing, inventory logistics, kind of tracking your commodity movements, getting kind of real-time visibility and rundown reports to your terminals, et cetera. The ESG, Salesforce has a new tool around ESG tracking called Net Zero Capture, I believe, or something along those lines, or it used to be called Sustainability Cloud. So that gives you kind of a starter kick into that direction to be able to aggregate your data. And then also just general, kind of along the same lines, managing that environmental, financial, social risk kind of mitigation efforts, for your infrastructure development projects. Let's see, contract lifecycle management. I mean, you could go on with the capabilities that are out there. And some of those are, something we build on the platform, something that we tie in with an existing a cloud that Salesforce has, or it might be a separate system that we tie in with Salesforce, like DocuSign or SpringCM, et cetera.
All right, Chris, Ross, we're just about done with the conversation. Got a couple more questions here for you, but thanks for all your insights so far. I want to intersect ESG with our conversation today. This is something we cover all the time on Energy to Business. And as most energy professionals know, it's one of the guiding forces that's defining new business models, new tech investments, new strategies for compliance and for even company culture. So I'm curious how you think Salesforce can be leveraged to boost companies' ESG initiatives. What touch points can it create? What accountability can it create? Connect those dots for us.
So just like everyone else, ESG has become a big role in our business. Greenhouse gas emissions, counting all of that, trying to track emissions, and all of that is pretty easy with our asset management application of Salesforce. So we started tracking all the emissions components on the app. We essentially did an inventory. We do with the app. All the operators are gathering our data, as well as just tracking all of our LDAR inspections and getting quick resolution to any of those issues. I think we've looked at the Sustainability Cloud or Net Zero. We haven't dove into that yet, but I know we're still looking at it.
Yeah, to add to that, the Net Zero Cloud it's a great, I think, starter to get into the space. They've got a lot of capability around data aggregation and workflow, auditability. But you can build on top of that with whatever standard you happen to be adopting to, whether it be SASB or any of the others, or maybe your own internal standard, until things kind of get finalized from a national level potentially. But Salesforce itself as an integration kind of hub, if you will, of that data, I think really makes sense just in its ease of integrating. They've got a set of APIs that you can very easily connect to. They've got a lot of different connection methodologies or tools that are available to you, whether it's you go big and get MuleSoft, or there's other ones that are built in the cloud, or write your own integration. The ability to tap into Salesforce's data to both push and pull is really powerful with that open API. I've been on a lot of projects where we've had delays due to waiting on a software vendor to either stand up an API or add to their API in order for us to do integration. With Salesforce, I add a custom field and it's immediately available within the UI, within the mobile device, within the API. So you've got that capability that's pretty powerful for integrating.
And my last question for the two of you, we'll end on some insights from both Chris and Ross, but what would you say is next for both of your companies throughout the rest of the year? And what role do you see Salesforce playing in meeting those desired goals? Connect those final dots for us.
So as for Ensign, we've got another rig starting up late this month, early next. We're pretty excited about that. So we're going to keep on, working our business. We're hoping to, as far as Salesforce is concerned, we're hoping to make some more integrations with ProCount, our production accounting software. Also looking to hook up Salesforce to Canary and leverage some of our process data. So we're excited about those integrations. Just keep on, thinking of ways to improve our business, working on continuous improvement. Keep on leveraging the data and making more oil and reduce OpEx safely.
Yeah, for Opportune, just continue to grow our Salesforce practice. It's real exciting seeing how the industry is adopting it, seeing folks like Ensign and Chris in the way that they're leveraging it and getting value out of it. I've really enjoyed working on the platform in this space, especially in the last few years, and seeing those innovations. But really for this year, just continuing to evangelize the platform and seeing what capabilities we haven't brushed up against yet that we can take on for challenges.
And go to Dreamforce.
Yes, let's do it together.
I think on that note, we'll wrap it. Chris, Ross, thank you to the two of you for your time today and really helping our audience understand how Salesforce is being put to work in the industry, how both of y'all see Salesforce's various tools being most useful for energy companies and oil and gas companies today, and then some strategies for making the most of those integrations and improving some of the hiccups that the industry is going through right now. So again, we've been chatting today with Ross Benton, director at Opportune, and Chris Baker, production manager at Ensign Natural Resources. Ross, if folks want to get in touch, maybe ask you some more questions and source your perspective, how can they learn more and how can they get in touch?
You can learn more by checking out our website at opportune.com, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions or want to continue the conversation.
And then Chris, same question to you. How can folks get in touch with you if they want to learn a little bit more about Ensign, or how can they learn more about the company itself?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a website, ensignnr.com, and then I'm on LinkedIn, Christopher Baker.
Ross, Chris, thanks again to the two of you. I'm looking forward to chatting again soon. Good luck with the rest of your year. And thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of E2B, Energy to Business, an Opportune podcast. If you like what you heard today and you want previous episodes, make sure that you're subscribing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You'll also get pinged when we drop new recordings. And you can find more episodes of the show and other resources on our website, opportune.com. I'm your host, Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B, and we'll catch you on the next episode of E2B.